The whole intent of the podcast is to share kind of what everybody's experiences are. So obviously real estate, we know that you were pro soccer player, got hurt, turned into a real estate career, which we're going to dig into. We know that you are a huge philanthropist. We know that you own half of Muncie, Indiana.
The more you're enjoying your personal life and your life, like the more successful you become, because success is all what we created. This market specifically, it's the opportunity to grab more market share than ever before. Every piece of my business I can do. But the reality is if I do every piece of my business, then my business is reliant on me. And that's not a business, that's a job.
How's marriage? Does it feel different?
Just this hand just feels different. Other than that, it's pretty much the same stuff, you know?
That's funny. Wayne, does it feel different with different rings on your hand, Wayne, every time you got married? Or is it like the same? You took them off now. Yeah. I'm just saying.
It's, I'm working on it.
Damn, dude. That was harsh, bro.
I'm just curious.
It is harsh out here in the wilderness. Y'all, your love people, and your joy and your happiness, and that's great. You know what I mean?
Oh man. Well, good, man. I'm glad the marriage is treating you right. So we're just going to jump into this thing. We try and be all professional, but it doesn't really work, as you can tell. The whole intent of the podcast is to share kind of what everybody's experiences are in real estate. Kind of, it's for real estate agents. So, from basic agents to producers, just trying to get little glimmers of what works, what doesn't. It's just more conversational than anything else. Wayne, what do you want to add to that?
Dude, let's just get real fast. So let's just kick it and have fun. You
want to do a little intro or you just want to go straight into it?
Just go right in.
Go right in. All right. So I'm actually going to do a little background because I did my homework, but I think that also clears things up. And also you don't have to explain so much of it. So, and I've been practicing your last name like a champ, dude. Like damn it. Fuck. Hold on. I had a chat GBT on how to tell me. Hold on. Let's see if chat GBT is right. Mohseni. No, you go ahead and say it.
No, Mohseni.
Mohseni. Okay.
Or Cyrus the Legend, as I like to refer to him as. So,
Wayne, you do the intro.
You skip the whole drama. You skip the whole, I didn't do my research. I just know I'd go to war for that guy. So you take it from there.
So here's what I've gained from your bio that we've brought out, right? So obviously real estate, we know that you were pro soccer player, got hurt, turned into a real estate career, which we're going to dig into. We know that you are a huge philanthropist. We know that you own half of Muncie, Indiana. We know that you love giving back to charities. You're recently married. You're in Orange County. What else is there? There's a lot. I'm pretty sure you do a lot of other stuff. But who are you, Cyrus? And how did you get to where you are? The cliff notes. You can take the long ride if you want to. But
you know what's so funny is so many people they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, I was just doing an article actually, like literally right while I was waiting to get on the call. And it was for Realtor Magazine, but it was like 30 under 30. Where are they now? I don't know if you guys got, yes. Yeah. So I'm like putting there, like, what are your hobbies? And I'm like and I'm like, well, I kind of got a lot, like I think a perfect example is like when I was younger, my mom, I'm the last of 5 kids. Right. So my mom, people would always ask how the kids are doing or whatever, right? And I remember I was just about to go to Europe. I was just going to graduate high school. I was going to move to Europe to go play soccer. And when everybody's asking what's Steven up to, what's Bijan up to, what's Desiree, what's yada yada, she'd tell them, oh, this is what they're doing and this is how they're doing it and yada yada. And when it come to Cyrus, she's like, well, Cyrus is doing whatever he wants to do. And it's so funny because I remember like those conversations and hearing them, and I'm just like, really, that's how you explain it? But it really is like I'm a big believer in like, as an athlete, as a human in general, like the more you're enjoying your personal life and your life, like the more successful you become, because success is all what we created. You know what I mean? So for me, I like to do what I like to do, and that could be, for instance, I coached USC women's soccer for 2 seasons. Right. I'm helping a lot of those players go pro. I had a call earlier with a big club in Europe, and one of the players, I I own one of the most successful real estate companies, independent real estate companies here in California. I make hip hop music. I rap. You know
I
what I
saw
mean?
that,
Like,
dude. I saw that, by the way. That is awesome as hell. God.
so it's always one of those things where like, it's like, how do you like, what does Cyrus do? And on the simple point of it is like, look, I consult with big companies. I have helped a bunch of agents grow their businesses, but truly I believe that we just have to do what makes us happy on a daily basis. And if we do that, then we'll have a fulfilled life,
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. So let's talk about the agent aspect of it, right? Like you help agents a lot, you coach, you not just soccer, but also agents in general. So we all know the market is what the market is. It can be bad, it can be good, how you want to look at it. But like, what is some just basic advice right now of agents that are in the business that you would share?
Right now, I think that there is probably, every market that agents struggle in, right? So let's say high interest rate environment, low transactions, so on and so forth. What that opens is a lot of market share. A lot of people, they look at the opposite. They say, oh my gosh, it's so hard to get deals and it's really hard to transact. And what am I going to do? I got to go get a part-time job, so on and so forth. I kind of look at it on the flip side and like how much opportunity we have. Right. We have a huge opportunity to grab market share because the majority of agents are looking at it as, I need to go get a part-time job. I'm going to go get out of the business. I need to go do something else. So all of those onesie twosie agents, all of those other agents that are focused on the negative side of the market,
right?
They're falling out. Well, guess what? They want at one point, even if they only had one client, they had a client.
Yeah.
Even if one time they only sold one house, they sold a house. Well, guess what? When they sold that house to that person, maybe it was because it was their, sister's brother's cousin, whatever, right?
Right.
Like that house now doesn't have an agent. So it opens a lot of opportunity for the agents that want to go grab business.
Yep.
And I think a lot of times we're focusing on like all the negative, but if you look at the positive aspect, like this market specifically, it's the opportunity to grab more market share than ever before.
Yeah, no, I preach to my agents all the time. Like there's gonna be a lot of orphaned clients out there, right? Like nobody's sending them market updates. Nobody's reaching out to them to invite them to events. Like it's there to be taken. So that's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah. So to talk about like tactically, like how to get those people, we did two different things. Like one, like you can, and again, different MLSs have different access. So I don't know how each MLS will access in your specific area, but what we do is we look at the MLS and then we are pulling like what's called non-member. So basically like agents that have fallen out of the business or no longer in the business or no longer paying their dues or whatever, like those will show up inside our MLS. So I'm looking at all the transactions over the last couple of years and I'm saying, okay, which agents have fallen out of the business? And then I'm taking those addresses and then I'm adopting those clients.
Yeah.
Right. I'm adopting those clients. And then on the flip side, like, how do we adopt them? It's calling them, introducing yourself. It might be door knocking. It might be sending a letter on their anniversary date. Mm-hmm. Hey, happy 1 year anniversary, home anniversary, right? Or happy 2 year home anniversary, so on and so forth. But the point is to have them start realizing who the agent is that they need to contact when they do decide to transact.
No, that's great. Something you mentioned earlier, and like me and Wayne, like it's going to be a potpourri of just random ass shit we're going to throw out. Like there's no like storybook, but I've noticed a lot agents that are producing a good bit. They were producing before the pandemic, which is that big wave, but they're gotten to a level where they are feeling that there's a need to do more. Not necessarily not in a real estate business, but like you're all over the place. We're all over the place. Like they want to own a real estate company now, or they want to own a gym, or they want to do a nonprofit. How do you keep your friends or your agents that are top producers, not keep them, but how do you help them satisfy that feeling without them giving up the way they made all their money to begin with?
I think it's two things. I think it's like a lot of people see, for instance, the beginning of this conversation is like, oh, they see Cyrus doing all of these things. So then immediately they think, oh, I can do all of these things.
Right.
But what they don't realize is that each of these things has been built individually. So it's been stacked, right? Like when I got into real estate, it's like only real estate until I built it and systemized it to a point when I can step out of it to be able to build something else.
Yep.
And then you build that piece and you focus in on this, and then you go here. Right.
Yep.
But like most people, they try to do this and then they're like, oh, I'm doing a bunch of this, so I could go do this now. And then now, instead of, I say it's like, A, B, and C. Let's say you have, task A, B, and C. Most people get, and there's 3 steps in each task. Most people get 1 and 2 done in, 1 and 2 in A, 1 done in B, and then 2 done in C, but they never complete all the tasks.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
So how would you know, how does somebody know when they're ready to add something on? Like what would your metric kind of be for that?
I think for me, like my thought process is when I can step away from the action, right? So from the business, right? When I can step away and my livelihood is not at stake. For instance, my business, I'm a big believer in, like, there's a difference between self-employed and business owner. So there's a lot of people that are self-employed, but when you're self-employed, you have to be in the business. You cannot step away, right? There's no stepping away from that. But when you're a business owner, you can step away and that business will survive with you, even if you died. Right. And
so
that's
when you put yourself in the business owner position, I can step away for 6 months and it keeps rock and roll. Like that's when you're getting close. Cause I think most people are like, they're barely holding on. They're like, I need to make more money. Let's add something on, right? A free 8 minutes yesterday. Let's go for something. And they totally crash it. Yep. So
correct.
Good.
Because then you're crashing. You're also like, it's one of those things where like you get into, you're like, oh, I need to go make, like you said, I need to go make a little bit more money over here. And I need to do this. It's impatient, right? Like fast money. I'm a big believer. Fast money leaves fast. And I had a conversation yesterday with someone, and I was talking to him about, like, just this income and how it grew. And he asked me, he goes, so I interviewed him on my podcast. He goes, hey, so, he goes, Cyrus, you actually already became a millionaire like that. And I was like, bro, a long time ago. And he's like, dude, so how did it feel? And he was like, and was it all at once? I said, it never is all at once. It never is all at once, right? I'm like, it's stacked over time. Now everybody sees it and they only see the result all at once.
Yeah.
Right.
So then they think that they can create the same result like this. But that's not how it works. It's success equals consistency and discipline over time. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, and I think the other thing people see is, like, if they're not making money where they are, you probably don't need to add something. Like if you haven't figured it out at position A, we probably don't need. And I mean, I've been tempted with that. Like we all have. You know what I mean? Like it's sexy to jump around and do lots of things. You know what I mean? But I think it's a really good point.
And that's the thing though too, is like, I think that's a whole, I think, different conversation. Is like when you're not making money, like you just need to stick in, lock in. And like I tell everybody, like, lock in for 365 days. Like don't look anywhere else. Don't chase anything else. And your life will change completely. But most
so when you say lock in, what does that mean? Like explain that to me. So somebody goes, hey, I want to make real estate successful. I want to, like, what does that mean to lock in to you? Because I'd love your definition of that.
Yeah, when it comes down to real estate, like, I think it's all about process over results, and results will come. So like for me, what I did my first couple of years, my schedule was super simple. I tell everybody this, but my schedule was super simple. It's 8 a.m. to 12 noon. I cold called. From 12 to 1, I had quote unquote lunch. From 1 to 3, and the reason I say quote unquote lunch is because during lunch I was prepping for my door knocking from 1 to 3. Right. And so I door knocked from 1 to 3, and then I did 2 open houses every single weekend. And that's what I did with no question about it. I didn't care if I was getting results or if I wasn't. I knew this is my process.
But Cyrus, that so isn't sexy. You didn't blog, you didn't YouTube, you didn't send mailers, right? Were you even part of the PTA, bro? Like, but seriously, that's so. How did somebody as badass as you do something so simple and not get lost in the weeds?
Look, dude, I played soccer for a living. Like, everybody goes and watch, you have stadiums with 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people. You watch, we have hundreds of thousands of viewers online, and like they see the game, and it's a beautiful game, but they don't see that we did the beep test on Monday. And then after the beep test, when we started training, we started with passes from, me and to a player 5 feet away. They see my long ball that I hit 55 yards right on a dime, but they don't see that I know I can pass this ball 5 feet. That's what we practice. It's the basics.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about, you want to create the you know, quote unquote sexy. You want to do all of that. Like, you got to do the little things. And if you stick in and you lean into the little things, then big results will come down the line. And the other thing is it's like, I just think a lot of people are impatient, like, you know, because of social media, because of everything. I was sitting on Instagram the other day, and I'm like scrolling through, and I'm like, man, everyone's freaking successful on here. This is crazy. I'm like, damn, dude, like I know I'm doing it, but like, how is everybody else doing this? And in everything, you could, like, you know, in cleaning shoes, you're a multimillionaire. And I'm like, what? But it's because that's what people are seeing. People are seeing that everybody is successful. I need that, so they don't have patience to grind it out for a year, grind it out for 2 years, and put everything into it.
Yep.
Did you ever see your own post and be like, man, that guy is crushing it. What is he doing? And they're like, oh shit, that's like my team put that out. Yeah. And you're like, I think I know that guy. Yeah. So funny.
It's actually really, really funny, because like, all, you know, speaking of like making music and things like this, right? Like my music is like my therapy. And then also, like, sometimes I just, like, my time to talk my shit, you know, very candidly, like. And so I'll, like, say stuff, and it's funny because, like, my videographer, for instance, he's listening to it, and he's like, have you made any new songs? I'm like, yeah, dude, check this one out. So we're in the office, and I'll play it, and he's like, bro, you know what's crazy is, like, 99% of the people that say this stuff is, like, just making it up. And he's like, but you're actually doing it. I'm like, you're right, I actually am. It's kind of crazy. Like, you know, like, you forget sometimes, but I truly believe that, like, it's about the ugly stuff, doing the ugly stuff, because that's what's going to make the sexy stuff later. You know,
I think we just came up with a business plan for Instagram, and you pay to subscribe, but everybody that posts, you get to see their bank account underneath their name.
Hell yeah. You know, there's actually a bar in New York that you have to, like, put your debit card in or something, and it pulls your bank account up. And
I saw it. You guys scan it. It shows it. Yeah. Yep.
I was like,
crazy.
I want to go to that one. You know, like, I want to go to that one
crazy.
with someone that says they're making this money, you know, like,
Right.
So if you had to summarize it, what would be the philosophy that you would implant in every other entrepreneur's mind? Like what would be one or two of those simple philosophies?
For me, like, it comes down to focus, you know, like, going back to the same thing, the A, B, and C conversation, going back to, like, where we're at right now, like it's focus, and it's leaning into that focus. So figure out, you know, if you want to, I don't know, you want to own laundromats, you know, and you want to own laundromats, and you want to do that, like, lean into that 100%.
Yeah.
Read every book about owning the laundromat. Understand the ins and outs. Understand if you're going to take quarters or you're going to take the cards, like, every little piece of it. Focus in on that and lean into it. Don't get over here with the shiny object syndrome.
Okay, but let me push back. Like, man, you're thinking so small, Cyrus. Like, if I was really a badass, I'd be doing 3 things. I'd be doing, like, but because that's this unconscious thing that we hear from the world, right? It's like, yeah, but if I was better, I'd be able to do 4 things at once. Like, speak to that just for a second.
But let me put it to you this way: one of the best things that I ever heard was an interview from Jeff Bezos, and I wish I could find it. I'm going to look for it, but he talked about how he makes only 3 decisions a day. And at that moment, I was like, how? I'm like, how is that possible? Right? Like, you're running one of the at the time, the biggest company in the world, right? Like, you're the richest man in the world. How are you making 3 decisions? So I became obsessed with this, right? And I became obsessed with calendaring. I became obsessed with, like, can I make less decisions on a daily basis? Right? And what I realize is he's just hyper focused in whatever he needs to solve.
I cut out for a second, but when everybody else is stuck in hustle porn of, like, more, you're thinking, like, successful leaders, like, instead of how do I make 100 decisions a day from 50, you're going, like, how do I make way fewer, much more impactful decisions?
Correct. 100%. And then you look at it and you say, for instance, every day as I've hired out, right? As I've brought in more people on my team, let's talk about, I have a full-time video editor, right? Like I could easily video edit and I'd crush it. Like I'm really good at it. I can easily set up my 3 cameras. I know how to set up 3 cameras and click the buttons and get it all done. I can easily do X, Y, and Z. Every piece of my business I can do. But the reality is if I do every piece of my business, then my business is reliant on me.
Yep.
And that's not a business. That's a job. Right. And so I think it's focusing in on like what you want to accomplish and the bigger goal, and then finding the people to be able to take those things off your plate, that the decisions you don't need to make. I had a conversation with my videographer yesterday. He's like, "Hey, Cyrus, I want to ask you a question. I know we want to do this style videos and I know we want to kind of go through this route, but I want to make sure it's okay with you to," and I said, no, freeze right there. I said, I brought you in because you're mine, not because of your technical ability.
Right.
I want you to make the decision. Don't ask me another question. And he's like, okay.
Right.
He's like, it's kind of hard for me to do that. I said, no, I trust you.
Right.
I trust you and what you do. But if I sat there and I told him, hey, yeah, you need to run everything by me, I'm never going to be able to move on to another thing, to my next project.
Let's talk about that, because I'm going through this right now, right? So to build yourself out of your job, right? You got to bring in somebody just as qualified, if not better. How do you find the right people that don't just want to go do it for themselves and that you rely on 100%?
I don't believe you need to find someone just as qualified or better. Like that's my I kind of actually say, like, I want somebody up front that can maybe hit 60-70%. And then that other 40%, like, they're going to learn throughout the process, and then they're actually going to become better.
Yeah.
Right. So like you're there's nowhere that you're going to, there's no company. I mean, okay, look, speaking with Dan, CEO of Follow Up Boss. Mm-hmm. Okay. They sold to Zillow for 500 million, right? Even that company, right? Moving to Zillow can easily place someone right there that's more qualified, that's this, that's that. But Dan's got an earnout and has to be there for a certain amount of time afterwards.
Sure.
Right? Because they need to understand how it actually works. Right. And so you're going to be there. There's no point where you're going to hire somebody that you're just going to be like, you're hired. Okay, figure it out. See you later.
Right.
Right. So for me, I want them to get to like 60-70%. If I get them to my output, that 60-70% right off the bat, I'm stoked, because then by the time that I'm ready to step away, they're at 100%. And then by the time that I'm, 6 months, a year after, whatever, they're at 120 of what I am.
True.
Right. Because that's all they're focusing in on. And it's easy to break it down. Like I'll give you an easier example to understand rather than running a full company. Right. But like your TC, like when you get a TC and you hire an in-house TC, for instance, like, yeah, they're not going to know maybe they will, but maybe they won't know the paperwork right as well as you do. But eventually they're going to know it better than you. And they're going to be like, yo, Brad, you actually filled this out wrong. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right? The goal is to be able to get someone that is going to put out at 60-70% of your output, hire them, train them, and then eventually they'll be at 120. Right? Yeah. I just look at it in a whole different way, because for me, what I do best is I train, I teach. That's what I do best. And as a leader, I think that's what our job is to uplift our people. So if our job is to uplift our people and help our people grow, then why don't we do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How do you, I like what you said there, because I think some people are managers and they think they're leaders, and some people are leaders and, they're really, whatever the opposite is. I'm losing train of thought here, but you know how it goes. They suck. They're not what they're supposed to be. Right? Isn't that how it goes, Wayne?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now I lost my train of thought. Whatever.
No, they are. So I think Cyrus, like, what's the impact? Because you just said you want to bring people up, but like, what's the impact you want to have on people when they're in your world? Because it probably comes from like, who saw you first, and what's the impact you want to have on the people around you?
I think we've talked about this before, but like for me, the core of my daily activities is very simple. It's like positively impacting one person on a daily basis. Like and that goes down to every person that I interact with. I believe every single one of us is going through something in life, whatever it is. And it's very easy for me to say, he's not dealing with the same stuff that I'm dealing with. So, whatever. But my whole point of like my whole mindset in leadership is understanding that everybody's going through something, and can I help those people through that or help them grow in what they want to accomplish?
Yeah. And what I love about you is it doesn't mean that like positive for you to, and I'm guessing so you can reframe it, but my interpretation of that is making a positive impact on. Like for you, sometimes it's telling somebody like get off your ass, or telling somebody to get their head on straight, or like you're dropping the ball. So I think that's where it gets a little weird. Sometimes people are like, oh, I want to be positive. Right? It's like positive impact doesn't always mean that I'm freaking just giving everybody hugs. Sometimes it's like a kind of a kick to the nuts.
Correct. I mean, like the biggest issue with agents in general, and you guys can tell me if you feel differently, but the biggest issue with most agents is accountability. Like the reason agents don't perform at a high level most of the time, now there's a bunch of little things, but it's accountability. It's because we control our own schedules. We get to do whatever we want throughout the day, and you can work from the beach when you're in real estate, but most people just go to the beach and don't work.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so 100%, Wayne, like for me, like I tell everybody, look, I'm going to help you get to your goals.
Yeah.
My goal is to help you reach yours. So if my goal is to help you reach your goal, then I'm going to hold you accountable. And through that, it is a positive impact.
I love that. Yeah.
Because if I can help you unlock that next piece or realize, Tim Grover, you guys know who he is? He wrote the book Relentless, and he's Kobe Bryant's. Yeah. Unstoppable. Yeah, that's it. So I had a chance to meet with him and talk to him and have a conversation with him. And I asked him, I told him, he was like, what are you up to? And, talking about real estate, talking about soccer, talking about sport, whatever. And I said, let me ask you this question. I said, how do you take a player like Kobe Bryant or Dwayne Wade, who's an elite athlete, the best in their field, and make them better? Like, that's what I'm like, because we always talk about, how to I could make a mediocre person great. Like, little small action. How do you make the greatest, the even greater? Right. And he goes, Cyrus, is very simple. He goes, my job as a coach, he goes, and I tell every single person this, and I adopted this, by the way, but I tell every single person this when I meet with them, the first meeting is, your job is to get to 100. My job is to get you to 120. Like, my job as a coach is to push you further, not to get you from 50% output to 100% output.
Right.
Like, your job is to get to 100% output. Your job is to put in all the work. Like, my job is to push you further than that. Right. And that's the accountability point. And that's the positive impact, right? Like, that's I had like I said earlier, I was on a call with one of the girls that I coach. Like, from when I started coaching her to where she's at now, she's I think she got ranked like top 10 players in the United States. Right. And when I first met with her, when I first met her and started coaching her, she wasn't there.
Right.
She was barely playing. But now she's top 10 players in the United States, going to play for one of the biggest European clubs in the world. And the reason is, I truly believe, is because she goes out and puts her all in every day, and then she allows us as coaches to push her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
No, for sure.
Positive impact, right? Like, that's, sometimes she hated me. I guarantee it. But that doesn't mean I'm not putting out positive impact.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because, obviously totally different level of soccer than you, but growing up playing soccer in high school. And we were like top 6 in the country we played fall ball, or spring ball, but we had a coach, dude. He was hardcore. He was from Mexico. All his kids played like UNC Chapel Hill. Like, he was a son of a bitch. I'll be honest. And we had pristine like soccer fields, and he took us out to like the band practice field where they would burn the lines in with old fire hoses so the band could know where to walk. And same thing. He's like, all right, it's the summer. We're training. Let's, pass the ball 10 yards. And of course the ball would go and hit a dip and bounce up. And he'd be like, no bounce. He'd just yell at us. And we're like, coach, there's a hole in the ground. And I swear to God, dude, 3 days of him yelling at us, but that ball smooth as butter going right across it. Right. Because he saw stuff that we couldn't see. And that's still one of my biggest, like, impacting people in my life, because his whole thing was just no excuses. And every time you go to talk, he'd be like, no excuses. And you need somebody in your face to finally just to tell you, like, hey, you're good, but you're not that good. And you've got to pick it up, right? You're playing small. I think that's the difference.
I think like, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to agents, like, I think everybody accepts that at some point, like, or they don't, I mean, but like, I'll put it to you this way. Like, I had a conversation with a woman that she does around 62 million a year.
Dang.
In sales. And I met with her a year and a half ago. And she's like, yeah, I want to get coaching because I want to level up, yada, yada. And then, she doesn't do it. She doesn't call me, yada, yada. Fast forward, right, to where we're at now. Like, she literally called me last week and was like, hey, I need to make this happen because I can't do the same. She's done the same amount every year for the past 5 years.
Right.
And what she realizes is she's so necessary in her business that she's got nothing automated. She's got no systems, no processes. And so it takes time sometimes. Some people are on, a scale where they're like, you know what, I'm going to lean in. I'm going to learn from from people right away. And some people are like, you know what, they got to go and hit the wall 10 times before they decide, okay, I need help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I truly believe, like, the best athletes in the world, the highest performing individuals in the world, we all have mentors and coaches.
Yep.
It's very simple.
Yeah. No, 100%. So let's switch. I just want to switch gears a little bit because you're going into this phase of life, right? Recently married, life's changed. I'm sure you've been engaged in dating for a while, but how do you, as a high functioning individual, make sure that you make time for your relationships? Because I feel like that is one of the first things that gets just thrown out the window, right? Because at least myself, right? I'm working hard. I'm doing this for us, babe. I'm doing this so we can build a life, and, not getting my personal business, but I will. Like, she's like, I just want you. And I'm thinking, no, but I want. So how do you do that, man? You're running and gunning. What are some tips and tricks you're figuring out?
Well, I've been very fortunate to have a mentor of mine who's my business partner in two of my companies. And mentor of mine, he told me this very early on. And he goes, Cyrus, you better start learning to schedule it. And I go, what? And by the way, he's been married for, I think it's 54 years now.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I'm like, no, she's fine. Like, she knows that I'm grinding this out. She knows I'm good. Like exactly what you said. Like, she knows that this is, I'm creating our future. And he told me that. He goes, Cyrus, you should know this more than anybody. What if there is no future?
Yeah.
And I just like, okay, damn, Jack. You're right. And so what I do, like very honestly, and my wife knows it, my close friends know it. Like, what I do is I literally calendar it.
Yeah.
So I have time every single week. I have on my calendar time that I'm spending with my wife.
Right.
Uninterrupted. Right. And then there's the fill in time that, we're grabbing lunch or whatever. And, or we're grabbing breakfast. I might be on a call. But she knows that we have our time that we're going to be together. And it might only be an hour. It might only be 2 hours, whatever that week, depending on what it is. But I think it was very big for me to schedule that and calendar that. Yeah. And I do that with all of my friends as well. Like, by the way, like, people think it's this weird thing at first, but then what you realize is like your relationships are what you put into them.
Yeah.
So like, if we're not intentional about our friendships and our relationships, like, they will die out. Like, that's just
for sure,
like, normal. Like, it's not, because I don't want to be friends with this person. It's just because I'm busy, they're busy, and that's it. So in my calendar, I have times, call Ryan, call Mark, call this person, call that. And I put it in my calendar and I prioritize that. And if it's in my calendar, it happens. So I just call them, hey, I was just calling to say, what's up? How are you? And I think that is how I learned to manage my relationships with my friends and my people that are important to me,
Sure.
even though I'm a high performing individual, because I'm
Yeah.
doing a lot all the time. I'm traveling all the time. I'm doing this. So I think it's a matter of priority. And I think it's also a very easy excuse for us as high performing individuals to sit there
Oh,
and
yeah.
say, well, I'm doing this for you because we're workaholics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the work gives us that the endorphin release. The you know, it's also like I've been going through this whole, you know, it's I believe life's an inward journey. So you go through this like inward journey of like the fact that like I'm actually working because I'm guilty because of this, because you know, like, and then you
Yeah.
break it all down and you're like, okay, like can I step away from that? So for me, it's calendaring and it's sticking with my calendar.
Right.
And then when I have that time, like it's knowing that that's our time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like I said, I had a mentor of mine that told me that very early on, like when I first started dating my now wife, and he's like, look, like just put it in the calendar, she knows that you're busy. She knows
Yeah.
that you're doing it for her. She knows that this is, she understands that, but just put it in your calendar and make some time for her.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You know? Yeah.
So what do you like going through what you've gone through? If you could go back and not redo it, but you know, you're one of the few 1.5 million realtors out there that are, you know, making everything kind of add up. Like, where do you see real estate going? Where do you see real estate agents being able to thrive in the coming years? I know it's kind of a very broad question, but like you're a high thinker. So it's like, what do you think the real estate world is going to look like in the next little bit?
I mean, a whole that's a big conversation because there's two things. So one, like as far as brokerage goes, I think more of the independents are gonna merge in with big brands. Like that's just because legality and everything and reach. I think as far as agents go, I think we're such in an era, you know, when I first got into business, everyone's talking about how technology is going to disrupt the industry and yada yada, and then now it's like you're seeing AI, you're seeing all of these shiny things, and I think that if you look at it like fashion, right? Like we have these trends, right? Like, you know, what people were wearing in the 90s, people are wearing now, right?
Right.
What people were, you know, rewind, you go to like, you know, 10 years ago, you know, handwritten notes and mailers were not working because everybody left away from, everybody was on that and it was like saturated. Right. Now all of a sudden these are working again. Now all of a sudden door knocks working again because people crave interaction. Right. So I think like in today's market, I think that going back to not just the basics, but like where it all started and like how we can, you know, with the door knocking, the open houses. I mean, really just breaking down to the basics, just calling people and having conversations with them rather than trying to implement too much technology, right, is going to be game changer for the agent of probably the next, I would say, 5 years. And then from there, you know, trends will change and so on and so forth. Now, that's not taken away from technology. I think technology is probably one of our most important assets. And I use every piece of technology to just make it easier for me. But at the end of the day, I believe that like the agents that are not doing the basics are not going to win.
Sure.
People want to be connected with more than ever because they're not connected with anybody.
So that goes back to almost a full circle because the last several years, and not to keep beating a dead horse, like it was easy. It was easy to sell houses. And I think training was gone to the wayside. Right. And people were chasing a commission split instead of doing old school, like, you know, the Greatest Generation, where you were an intern and you were an apprentice and you had to do the shit to get to where you want to go. And, you know, 2021, you just pick up a phone, call somebody, buy a house. So those people that are stuck, they got into in the 2020, 2022 era, like how would you recommend to them to reset their business because of where they were, what has happened? And I know you talked about picking up, you know, orphan members, but like, what are some tactical things as a trainer and a teacher that you would talk to somebody about?
Yeah, I think another trend, by the way, that I didn't mention that I think will happen with brokerage is you're going to see all of the major brokerages revamp and rebuild their training programs. You will see this. It's going to be a huge trend. I can guarantee it. Every major brokerage is going to come out with a new training program, a new quote unquote coaching program, so on and so forth over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
That's going to be their major focus because of exactly what you talked about. The thing is that agents, what they're realizing is brokerage doesn't make any money unless agent is productive.
Correct.
And brokerage used to make more money on a, quote unquote non-productive agent than they do now than ever before, right? So before you used to get a new agent, came in, did 1 or 2 deals, yada yada, and brokerage would make money.
Yeah.
Brokerage
That was
would
your
be
money
all right.
makers. Yeah.
That was okay. Now, where in a world where there's 100%ers, there's these caps, these low caps, and all of these things, like they have to find a way to make agents more productive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it'll be very interesting to see, but I think that the big brokerages are realizing that they're losing a lot of money, and they're going to start revamping and rebuilding their training programs from scratch. I truly believe that. And then I think as far as an agent goes, like what agents need to do, if you're a new agent, let's say you got in at 2021, 2022, yada yada, and these years that you just kind of like sneezed and you had a transaction, and now you're like, what do I do? I think you need to lean in and find a good mentor. I think that if you think you can do it on your own, you're far behind. Look, I'll tell you right now, in the article that I wrote, the 30 under 31, the where are they now, that I was just responding to, I put in there they asked a question. It was like, I don't know, it said something about how has 30 under 30 impacted you? Right. And I put, it's the network that has impacted me the most. And that's because there are people that I can lean on and call and ask questions, say, hey, Brad, how are you dealing with this? Hey, dude, you're going through this, blah, blah, blah. And you can do the same. And we can have these conversations. I can have that conversation with Wayne. I can have that conversation with every other 30 in the room that's doing something, right? And I think that if you don't have mentors and people that you can lean on and by the way, like, just to understand, like, I truly believe that every person can be a mentor in someone's life, depending on what you're looking at. Like I can, I know that if I, I'm going through XYZ with, in my life, blah, 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 I know I have to call somebody. They're going to be a mentor in my life for that thing, right? Yeah. It might be building the right tech stack, and I might reach out to XYZ person because I know they do that, right? Like, yeah. And the thought process is like, so when I say mentors, I want to make sure that people understand, like, you need to find the right mentors. And if you think you have it figured out, you're behind. Because the best in the business, the best athletes in the world, all have coaches, all have mentors, period, end of story. Yeah. Even for specific topics, right? Like, I mean, even batting practice, fielding practice, strength training, all that stuff. I had a breathing coach, bro. Yeah. I sat and learned how to breathe. I'm like, didn't I know how to do this from when I was born? You know what I mean? But like, this is how minute you can get it. And if you go that deep, right, success will only come. But 100% in each specific area of your business, you could have a different coach, a different mentor that's going to help you grow. And I think that if I'm giving advice to somebody that's like, what do I do? How do I do it? You need to find a mentor and then be okay with whatever that mentor. If you believe that mentor is the right mentor for you, right? If you truly believe that mentor is the right mentor for you, then you got to be okay with whatever it costs to be able to make sure that you're working with them. Yeah. Right. And that's a crazy thing because people are like, oh my gosh, some of these guys are charging. No, I'm saying you have to find the mentor that you truly believe in, that will help you get there. One of my biggest mentors was one of my goalkeeper coaches growing up, taught me about life, taught me about it in general. Dude, today, if the guy told me to jump off the top of this building and you'll be okay, I would do it. Yeah. Because I truly believe that he has my best interest in heart. Yeah. And so I think that's what it is, whether it's, I gotta go to a new team. I gotta go to a team. This guy's the guy, but I gotta go to a team and he's got 50% of my commission. Well, if you truly believe that guy's going to help you get to where you want to go, then 50% doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
because you're going to make more money long term.
So that's one of my follow-up, like when looking into the future. Do you think, because, my whole soapbox, I was growing up at the end of my road, I lived in a neighborhood, there was a Century 21 office, right? And this is, late 80s, early 90s, and they owned our neighborhood. I mean, like that's who sold all the house. That's how real estate worked. You had the neighborhood mom and pops. The broker was the head of the company. The broker helped everybody get stuff done. And of course, we've gone through this evolution. We've gone this evolution of like, let's remove the broker a little bit. Let's put in somebody else. And also let's give a lot of splits, which is okay. I mean, I'm not knocking people's models, but then happens the teams got created. And I started a team back in 06 to have support because my broker couldn't provide it because he was giving us too much commission, which made sense. So do you think it's going to kind of go back around to some of these, maybe these models are going to constrict on their splits, if you will? Not saying will the 100%ers go away, but like, do you think it'll come down?
You're seeing it happen already, which is very interesting. Like if you really look at what's happening, you look at the model that's happening, right? So we go from brokerage doing all of this to brokerage giving less and getting less, right, to team leader, trying to provide the value, to team leader saying, I want to go to a brokerage where I pay less and that way I can make more so I can give more, right? To now team leader, I won't say the name of the companies, but there's a couple of these companies. Team leader hires a third-party company to help run company and gives 50% of their business.
When you say it like that, yeah.
It's what's happening.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's going to happen. And I think that the big brokerages, the Anywheres, the EXPs, the Reals, the big Compass, the big brokerages, that's why they have to lean back into the education side of things, because they got to find a way to make agents more productive.
Yep.
Or else they're not going to be able to survive because they're making less and less money, and agents will leave. I mean, very simple. Agents leave EXP to Real because Real's $2,000 cheaper.
Yep.
And then there's going to be another one. There's already a bunch of models, right? And then it's just going to keep going down this route. And then those people are like, wait, I don't get any support. How do I get it? They're either going to go to big brokerage again.
Yep.
That's going to help them if they will figure that out, or they're going to hire third-party company to run their company and help them build and provide them the CRM and all the tech that they need.
Pissed off I would be if I had a team that hired a third-party company to support them.
But that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, you're seeing it at all of these brokerages. You're seeing, XYZ team powered by, or under this brokerage powered by this person. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, so yes, 100%. I think it will come back around. And that's part of that whole bigger trend, I think, of agents, of bigger brokerages, independents, less and less independents, bigger brokerages, white labeling independents, so on and so forth. And then from there, hopefully, right, then we're able to provide. I think brokerage's one job is to support the agent.
Yep. 100%.
I think like the number one job for brokerage is support the agent. And I think we've got away from that for a long time. And I think it will come back around.
Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly hope so and agree, because that's how we both run our businesses. Like I always tell my agents, like, you've got your own mountain, maybe different than mine. I'm going to help you get to the top of it. Correct. I'm not dragging you, but I will help you if you want to get up there. And so the motivation's on them, but the rest of it we can help with. So I get it. Well, I don't want to take up more of your time than you've allotted for us. I know you got a busy schedule. Dude, I appreciate you more than you know. You've got such insight, and the way you look at real estate and the way you look at life is just, it's a breath of fresh air, and it's good to always hear, because you're an awesome human being. So thanks for doing this for us. Thanks for squeezing us in. And yeah, just thanks for doing everything you're doing for the industry too, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And you're amazing too, Brad.
Thanks, dude.
Dude, Cyrus is a monster. Like the way the guy thinks and what he is able to accomplish is incredible.
Well, I mean, he's one of the reasons that we started our E5, E4 kind of group mentoring program. He was one of those original members where he just has authentic conversations. To be honest, I mean, just knowing him personally and for a couple of years now, he's kind of like my real estate superhero. Like, he doesn't drink. He has vices, and we've talked about that, but like, I think that's also where he gets a lot of his energy and his clarity, is he doesn't like self-medicate like I do. You know what I mean? Like most of us do. We have something we do, good, bad, or ugly. And yeah, he just, he's just a walking legend already in real estate.
Absolutely. Man,
So, I mean,
so for you, what was your take? What stood out to you from some of the things that he dropped in there?
yeah, well, one is, I asking him about, how are you making time for your marriage, right? Because as, high stressful entrepreneurs, like that's usually something that takes a back seat. And, what came of it was he's like, I've got a mentor for everything and everybody can be a mentor. And I thought that was really strong, because he's like, when I was a soccer player, he said he had a breathing coach. He's like, and that was what he was good at, So, sometimes I think we look for the one all be all mentor or coach.
Yeah.
And, from time to time, we need to break that up. And maybe it's some people use therapy, but maybe it's a mentor in relationships. Maybe it's a mentor in your CRM. Maybe it's a mentor in your networking, whatever. Like, you go to the people that are good at that one thing. And I feel like people don't, because they think they have to be the best at it all.
Well, and that's huge, right? And that goes against two things. One is so many people think like if I take responsibility for my life, I have to figure it all out on my own, which is insane, right? It's the dumbest way to learn if you can avoid, right? So it's like who, not how, right? Who knows how to work the CRM? They could save me 5 years of learning or whatever it is. And then, like you said, I think that second thing is really interesting, is that we often think we have to find a mentor, like the end all be all mentor, the one that can mentor me in every area of my life. And dude, there's some people that will talk to me about relationships. Like, don't tell me about money. And then there's some people like, hey, teach me about money, but like, I don't need any of your advice about relationships, because that, right? But having multiple people, I think, is really, really important.
Yeah. What was some of the biggest takeaways you took from the conversation?
I think one of the biggest things that I took away, and this is just his ability to lock in and do it simple and not spin out on looking for a better wheel all the time. He's like, hey, I did these things and I called these people. There may have been a better way, but like he just dialed in and goes, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So that is huge for me. Just his ability to lock in for 365 and go. And then I think that like now you look at him and go, oh, he's got all these things. And that's something I tell my clients a lot. I was like, I read years ago, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. Well, I thought that meant I needed to go get 7 streams of income tomorrow. And then you're like, well, that doesn't work. You start reading biographies and you go, they nailed one thing. Then they nailed 2 things. Then they might have been able to pick up momentum because they were able to hire people and leverage money, whatever else. It was like 1 took 10 years, 2 took 7 years. Then they may have started doing multiple things, but it was never they were nailing 3 new things at once ever.
Yep. Yeah, I liked how he said, well, one, he said fast money leaves fast. That's what I wrote down, right? So we see it every day. You see it in coaching. I see it in my agents that I, coach and mentor or interview. There's like, how much are you going to give me in splits? And it's like, well, first of all, you have to actually make the money. My support gets paid back, right? That's
say that for the people in the back.
God knows. But yeah, I mean, I think we're looking for fast money. And so we look for fast money and cheap splits or cheap products that we think is going to get us there faster. And then we realize in the day, we don't have money, we didn't make. And so that was really, really impactful. And then the other quote I like to steal from him is like, everybody's going through something, empathy is not my strongest suit, but I really do need to wake up every day and read that writing like on my desk and be like, everybody's going through something. And I think that is, if we can remind ourselves, but you nailed it too. Cause you're like, hey, everybody's going through something, but it doesn't mean it comes with a hug. It can be like, hey, you can still be tough with them, but also love them at the same time.
Yeah. Empathy doesn't always mean that like you are weak with that person or you're wimpy or I think that's, most people err on one side or the other, right? They're either jerks or they're so empathetic that they can't, have the real conversations. And, after a couple of decades, you kind of learn somewhere in the middle. So yeah, but I think his ability to lock in and his ability to really focus on what's the system and the process I need to build around this so it continues to work without me.
Yeah.
And I'm working with this company right now, and it is a huge company. They'll do a lot in volume this year, and the guy asked me today, he goes, what's next, right? He wants to get to 2 million from 1, and it's like document everything you're doing. Like it's do the really boring stuff, and he wants the sexy answer, he wants the fast answer, he wants the what am I missing answer. It's like the only thing you're missing is the steps you skipped, meaning write it down. Document it. Can it work when I'm not here? Kind of things. So, and you're way better at that than I am. But that is, it's just, Do the stuff.
Dude, do the stuff, man. I'll leave it with this. Back when I was looking at doing a different career out of college, and I was in the restaurant world, and I was thinking about going to management for restaurants. And I remember calling my brother and being like, "But bro, I don't want to chop tomatoes every day, you know?" And he was like, "Every job you chop tomatoes every day. It's just a matter of what the tomato is." And it just stuck with me. Like, you got to embrace the suck. You got to go through it. You got to work it. And I think that's why, I mean, I'll boast on us. That's why we are where we are, or are in our path, because we embrace the suck. We don't push it aside. We get it over with. And hopefully that makes room for the fun stuff, but you can't get the fun stuff without going through the suck.
No, nope. You got to lean in. You got to choose it. Choose what you want to give refs about, and then go all in on it.
Well, we've got a fantastic lineup of podcast guests going after this episode. So anywhere from AI to like more database management. I know it sounds unsexy, but I think people are really going to pick up a lot of good stuff. So I'm excited that we're launching this podcast. I'm excited that it's finally come to fruition after a lot of years and months and talking about it. So thanks for going down this journey with me. And hopefully this first one hit home for somebody, and it's going to make everybody look at real estate and their lives a little different perspective.
There you go. Real conversations.
Yeah.
Untucked.
Untuck it.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, man. You too.